Hi, I'm Maisie and I'm the clinical lead at Enough. I'm a qualified psychotherapist and I'm just about to qualify as a counselling psychologist specialising in areas relating to sexual trauma. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about Enough's clinical approach, why it's needed and what the research says. I'm also going to introduce you to some of the research we've conducted ourselves. And this is something that we take incredibly seriously because we not only want to make sure that all of our supportive resources are evidence-based, but they're also founded in what survivors tell us they want and need. So as clinical lead for Enough, I'm not just a practitioner, but I'm also an expert by lived experience. So as somebody who's experienced sexual violence themselves, I'm able to draw upon my own personal experiences of recovery and therapeutic interventions, as well as drawing upon my clinical experience in providing clinical interventions. So I started my career in the Sexual Assault Referral Centre as a crisis worker, and I've since gone on to provide trauma therapy to people who've experienced sexual trauma. I've recently just completed my doctoral thesis, which explored various different influences on recovery after rape, from individual factors to the impact of the systems around somebody, such as family, friends, the workplace, as well as wider cultural attitudes and social scripts. And I investigated how all of those things interact to either promote or inhibit recovery. And like a lot of other research already out there, my study consolidated the need for a really holistic approach to recovery and supportive resources that really promote community and empowerment. But why is this needed? Well, 5 in 6 people who experience sexual violence do not report it. And of the people that do report, only 33% do so in the first week. And out of everybody who does report their experience, only 50% are signposted to relevant support services, with just 2% of those accessing therapy or support within that first week. Now we know this is potentially very detrimental. So research tells us that early intervention and social validation can really prevent the development of debilitating post-traumatic symptoms. An appropriate immediate intervention and social validation can really help a person to start to develop adaptive, individual and social coping strategies. And we've spoken to people who said they've told us that they want access to effective, supportive and therapeutic intervention, but there are actually so many barriers to receiving this. They've told us that there are incredibly long waiting lists for therapy, that actually session numbers themselves can be very limited. And actually for some, they have no idea where to start in actually accessing therapy. And they've also talked about the lack of knowledge that they themselves have about their experience, but also the lack of knowledge that other people trying to support them have about sexual violence and its impacts. In an ideal world, everybody would have access to effective therapy. But in reality, we know that's not happening. Hundreds of thousands of women and men are experiencing a lack of support. Individuals are not getting the help they need, and there must be another way. And actually, research tells us that there is. Emerging literature is suggesting that online interventions can be just as effective as face-to-face, particularly when dealing with issues relating to trauma. Research also tells us that there is a need for empowering resources that place the individual at the centre of their recovery. They empower a strengths-based approach and they give the individual the confidence to take ownership over their recovery. So, bearing in mind what the research says, our approach is underpinned by the power threat meaning framework, which essentially is a framework that helps to guide clinical interactions, and it's helped us to design resources that place individual distress in a contextual setting. So we don't say what is wrong with a person, we say what's happened to a person, what's influencing the way that individual is feeling, and why might they be experiencing the things that they are. It's an approach that aims to help individuals normalise their experiences and really make sense of how things that have happened to them have had an impact. It also allows us to consider how the systems around an individual could impact their recovery. And we hope that by using this approach, we can help people to start to challenge any potentially damaging scripts such as rape myths or victim blaming. We also incorporate principles from compassion-focused therapy, which is an evidence-based approach that promotes a de-shaming approach to therapy and clinical interventions. It's an approach that aims to normalise human suffering, to provide context to the way that we feel and why it makes sense as a human being that we struggle with the things that we do. It also promotes the importance of compassion, and so we'll be using that to help influence the ability to develop more self-compassion, the ability to develop soothing techniques, as well as providing compassion to others. So in addition to what the literature says, we also have a panel of experts by experience who have consulted with us on a regular basis. So we started with in-depth interviews to gain insight into what people thought of the concept of enough. And we've redefined that and refined that with multiple focus groups. So we've talked to people about what recovery means to them, what things they've struggled with, what things they wish they would have known, or resources that they would find helpful. We've spoken to them about the community and what that could offer. And we've showed them our video library and had them consult on things to change, language to use, and generally ideas for content that we are planning on creating. And we continue to run focus groups at regular intervals as well. And this emphasises that our approach is collaborative and survivor-led, as well as being evidence-based. We've also completed thorough risk assessments of some of the ethical issues that may arise from providing online support. We have an extensive safeguarding process in place, and we've created contingencies to best navigate the potential risks that may arise from online working. And we'd be happy to share this if people would like to see. So what actually is enough recovery? What are we offering? So essentially, we're offering therapeutic and compassionate psychoeducation in the form of online videos and community-based content. The topics have all been designed based on survivor feedback, literature that currently exists, as well as findings from my thesis. We also are hoping to utilise our resources to contribute to research in the field and to test the effectiveness of online videos in this area. So there are three strands to our recovery. The first being our videos. So our videos cover a wide range of topics, from understanding trauma response to navigating your sexuality and unpacking societal scripts such as rape myths and victim blaming. And we also have a series of shorter videos that incorporate therapeutic techniques such as grounding exercises and ways to soothe yourself. So we'll be releasing a new video every week, and we'll be basing these videos on feedback from survivors, and we'll be taking potential requests of things that people want to see or things that people want to learn more about. We've also created guides for telling family and friends and loved ones. We've created information on how to have this conversation, how to prepare for this conversation, as well as guides for those who may be on the receiving end of any disclosures. And this is something that was particularly relevant within all of our focus groups. We've also created a community which aims to be a safe and accepting space to share knowledge on each of these areas and to provide connections to people that have similar lived experiences. All of these resources are things that survivors have asked us for, and they are all things that the research says could be effective. But we recognise that we can't be everything for everyone. Much like the systems around us, we all need multiple things from different people and different services. In that sense, we don't market ourselves as a replacement for therapy or a replacement against other reporting options. So we have a detailed explanation on our website about what the police and the SARC process could offer. And we have really clear instructions that if somebody is considering exploring reporting through one of these systems, that they should do so first. And we also make it clear that we can't provide any advice or medical input regarding sexual health needs. So we have signposts to where they can find out information on getting STI screenings and advice regarding their sexual health. We also recognise that some people may need more support than what we're able to offer. We've created videos on these topics detailing when we might not be enough, what signs to look out for that might suggest you need more support, as well as how to access that support. At every point of contact with enough, we have access to crisis support, signposts to helplines, text services, and how to access therapy. We also have a video on how to do this as well. We also have clear statements on what we can offer and what we can't offer, as well as alternative information on where you can find additional support. Our overall ethos is that we are open, we are not anti. We want to work with services, not against them. And as reflective practitioners, we are always open to new suggestions and new learning. I'd really love to speak to anybody who has further questions about our recovery approach, about the research that we've gathered, or about what the research that exists says about the approach at Enough. Below this video, there is a reference list that details all of the research that we have read, that we have considered, and it also includes our What Else page so that you can see the information that we have got and the signposts that are made available to anybody accessing our support.